When it comes to explaining fractions, students need to know that the bottom number, the denominator, is always the whole amount, or the amount that the shape is being split into. And the top number would be the amount of shapes that are shaded. So for example, Brian thinks that 1/2 and 1/4 are the same. Using your pattern blocks, you can show that that is not true, because a hexagon would be considered one whole, and then if we had two trapezoids, this would be considered 1/2. If we had our other shapes, this is the hexagon split into 4 pieces. So, for example, one piece of this would be 1/4. So if this is 1/2 and this is 1/4, Brian would know that these are not the same size, so they cannot be equal. The main reason behind this is because they do not have a common denominator, and they are not the same just because they have a 1 in the numerator spot. As far as Angie goes, Angie believes that the two fractions 1/4 and 2/4 are the same. So if we looked here at this piece, here is 1/4 by itself. If we had 2/4, it would be 2 of these pieces. So there is no way that 1/4 and 2/4 are the same, because they are not the same size. They do, however, have the same denominator, which could show why she misunderstood this, but it is going based off of the numerator by how many of that piece, or how many parts of that shape they have. So for example, 1/4 is just one part of the 4 pieces, and 2/4 is 2 parts of the 4 pieces. Using our fraction bars, we can use this by showing this is a whole, a half, and 2/4. Brian believes that 1/2 and 1/4 are the same, so the students can quickly look at this and see that 1/2 and 1/4 are not the same, and that 1/4 is actually smaller. As far as Angie goes, she believes that 1/4 and 2/4 are the same, so we can also show that because 1/4 is one piece and 2/4 would be 2 of those pieces, so therefore there's no way for them to be equal. When it comes to a number line, I have drawn Brian's problems on one number line, and they are the same size because they both go to a whole, but Brian has 1/2. We would explain that the reason that this is 1/2, the number line is split into 2 separate sections. So 1/2 is right in the middle. For 1/4, it is split into 4 separate sections, but they still both equal one whole. The 1/4 would be right here, and the 1/2 would be here. So it would show that on both number lines, the halves are in the same spot, so therefore 1/2 is bigger than 1/4. On Angie's number line, her number lines look more similar. Both of them are split into 4ths because the denominator of both of her numbers is 4. 1/4 would be on the first one to show that the numerator is 1, and then on the second number line, it would be on the 2 because the second numerator is 2/4. Therefore, 1/4 would actually appear to be smaller than 2/4 because 2/4 would be our 1/2 mark. So using a number line is a good visual for being able to tell the difference between fractions that have the same denominator, so you can see which one is actually bigger.